Hey everyone, it's Jamie from Independent Street Tarot and Seasons and Ritual, and I'm here to talk about the summer solstice that will be happening tomorrow on the 20th of June. I do live in New Orleans, so I'm going to talk about the summer solstice. On the other part of the hemisphere, they're going into the winter solstice. And again, I think it brings up this idea of balance, right? I feel like for a long time that we've kind of forgotten about that. It was all work, before, even though if we were like work hard, play hard, but it was usually like a lot of work or right or a lot of play. There wasn't any sort of balance. And I think going into the solstice, we are moving more into balance for a couple reasons. One being that the south node, the lunar south node is still in Libra, right? And Libra is what we're leaving behind. And so we're leaving behind this idea of being out of balance. Libra wants us to be imbalanced, right? Libra also in its lower vibe is a people pleaser, and we're moving out of that phase as well, so we can be more in balance with ourselves. Also, Pluto being in Aquarius is the individual first, and then the collective. When we've been working with this idea of Aquarian energy and Pluto in Aquarius for, for a few months now, going back to when it first went into Aquarius, then it retrograded back into Capricorn, and now it's still in Aquarius. Pluto is retrograde right now and will move back into Capricorn here in a few. And that is all also tying into the solstice energy. We have a lot of outer planets that are in new positions, that are in new stations that they haven't been in before in our lifetimes. A couple of them in our lifetime, but some of them not. So right now, Uranus is at 25 degrees of Taurus, and this is the first time Uranus has been at 25 degrees in Taurus in 84 years. Chiron is now at 23 degrees of Aries, and it's the first time it's been there in 49 years. So I'm only 46, so this is the first time for me. Neptune is at 29 degrees of Pisces, and it hasn't been here at 29 degrees of Pisces in about 164 years. And then also we know Jupiter is in Gemini, and it's back. It was there, 12 years ago. Again, Pluto in Aquarius, it's the first time it's been there in hundreds of years, even though right now the degrees that it is in Pluto in Aquarius is going back over the same degrees. It's at 1 degrees of Aquarius. It has been here, just recently. But it's still that new energy. So moving through the solstice gate where it's the same time of light and day in theory. And then moving into summer. And then once we hit the summer months, the days start getting shorter. And then though at the other side of the world, the days start getting longer. And it brings us back into this beautiful balance. And so going through this gate, we do have to think about what it is that we're bringing forward and what we're leaving behind. And this is really a magical time for this, but it's really important because we do, as people, want to keep moving forward. And so now that these planets are in new points in different, different houses, Taurus, Gemini, Neptune and Pisces, especially Neptune and Pisces. This is a time that we get to move forward with kind of no strings attached if we don't want to have strings attached. So ending old stories, let's say, what did I say? Saturn is at 19 degrees of Pisces, and last time it was there was 29 years ago. So that's when I was 17, right? So have I been dragging along some storyline since I was 17? Most likely. Is this a good time to get rid of it and to be free and to move on? Yes, it is. And so that's what I'm talking about. Like there's other things, Aries, Chiron at 23 degrees, first time in 49 years. Does it, you're like, oh, I was 3. I don't know, you guys. You can just ask the universe to clear anything that you picked up when you were 3, if you that you don't want to carry on. I feel pretty safe in saying that, you know. But at the same time, you know, Taurus in Uranus at 25 degrees, the first time in 84 years. So for me, that's a big one, right? Same with Neptune in Pisces, 164 years. Along even just feeling the Aquarius energy with Pluto. And so this is that time to really keep shedding those skins, right? It is this time to keep moving forward. And it is this time to let that solar plexus get revved up by the sun. The interesting thing about the solstice, this solstice is the very, you know, the very next day we have, and when the sun is at 1 degree of Cancer, the moon will be at 1 degree of Capricorn. So we'll have the Capricorn full moon. We will have a second Capricorn full moon in Cancer season when it hits 29 degrees. So I don't know if this is what they call a blue moon. I don't know if technically, like if you were to do the science of it is, but I think maybe that's what we call blue moons. But the idea that we're having illumination, the time when we're most psychic, twice in with the moon in Capricorn and the sun in Cancer, you know, signals to me that we really have to look over what it is with the way that we work, how we show up, you know, what we think work is, and how it makes us feel in our bodies. Cancer is cardinal water. It is the initiation. Cancer rules the home. And we want to start to bring our home, which is our home, right? Our physical selves back into balance. And so we really have to look at the way we work and how we want to work and how we want to work moving forward. And maybe the lies that we were told about work, right? I was talking to a woman yesterday, and you know, she was telling me she really liked her job, but she really liked where she was in her job. And she didn't want to be promoted. But then, so she didn't get the promotion. And so she, at one hand, she was like, yes. But on the other hand, she was like, "Ah, well, what the hell?" Right. And so we had to talk about, you know, the idea, of course, of ego, but also the idea of we were told if we don't keep getting promotions and keep wanting more, and consuming more and consuming more, then we were told that we're failing. When the reality of it is that we can be happy where we're at, you know, but most people don't want to speak about that because we've been fed this um, line all about productivity, productivity. So with the sun going into Cancer, it is the initiation of the self, you know, cardinal water. What was it going to initiate? And then we have to remember that Capricorn is an earth sign. In Taurus, who is fixed earth, wants things to be simple, right? And actually right now, what's helping with this too is that Mars is going to be in a wide trine, who is at, where is he? Mars is at 9 degrees of Taurus. So we have that divine masculine energy sitting in Taurus, right? How are we going to move this forward as we look over where the moon is in Capricorn? And Capricorn is that cardinal earth as well that wants to get things initiated. So what are we going to initiate new moving forward as we have these outer planets in spaces that they've never been before in our lifetime? How are we going to work with that energy? How are we going to initiate that energy? How are we going to co-create with that energy? Again, Capricorn, I pulled the cards. Capricorn in the Tarot is represented by the devil, and Cancer is represented by the moon, right? And the moon is the mother. The moon is our intuition. And this is a time that we really have to go into seeing how we nurture ourselves moving forward, how we work on nurturing ourselves moving forward. And the idea of getting out of this, you know, the devil to me is always represents the illusion. You know, the two, I don't know if this is going to get flagged because of the people, but whatever. The two people are chained, right? Because they think that's how it's supposed to be. So it's important to see as we go through Cancer season and we start to initiate all this new energy, this new creativity, this new way of being, where we need to get rid of the illusion. Neptune and Saturn both being in Pisces, right? And Pisces is a water sign. Pisces is mutable water. And Pisces represents, though, the other. Cancer, on the other hand, represents the self. So with Neptune and Saturn sitting in Pisces, both of them are about to get ready to station retrograde, actually, right now. In Pisces, and Neptune will station retrograde in Pisces at, I wrote it down, at 29 degrees, which is the last degree, 56 minutes. So right before it moves into a new sign, it goes backwards. And this to me is really clearing out all this illusion, delusion, what do you call it? Addiction, all those ideas that were fed to us during that age of Pisces, where we kept looking outside of the self to get affirmation from the other. This to me is starting this new energy of getting affirmation from the self, being aligned, understanding the yin and yang of things, right? Understanding that on one side we have Cancer, which is cardinal water, and on the other side, across opposite, is Capricorn, right? Cardinal earth. And how do they work together? Finding that balance. It's all about getting into balance moving forward. And understanding how water and earth work together, instead of just being all earth or all water, we have to open up that space. It's just like yin and yang, light and dark. It's that balance there. It's always present. It's always there. Masculine, feminine energy. How do we translate that when both of them are always here within us, right? And having that new conversation, but seeing how it's showing up in us. And how we're going to express that moving forward as well. So it's important that to fill into, when I fill into the space of the solstice, these outer planets, because a couple of them are getting ready to move retrograde. Neptune is getting ready to station retrograde. Saturn's getting ready to station retrograde. Aquarius, or Pluto and Aquarius is already retrograde. But these planets are holding space for us. The outer planets, when they move, because they move so slowly, it is really a feeling, Uranus in a new degree of Taurus, right? Still churning up all that earth, these lightning bolts coming out of nowhere, right? But it's also like churning up, like, why are you making it hard? Keep it simple, initiate keeping it simple. When you're working on things, keep it simple. Earth energy wants it to be simple. Earth energy wants to be practical, and you can be practical in your feelings, and you can be practical in your creativity, right? And you can just love that idea of things can be simple and beautiful, and you can find beauty in the simplest things as well, right? And you can expand on that. There's no limitation to how things can be moving forward. This solstice, the summer solstice, especially after we had, which I called some reality checks with Neptune, Venus squared Neptune, Mercury squared Neptune before they moved into Cancer. And those were really, I think, big reality checks for people. So if you're seeing things differently, or if things are coming to you differently, that's good, right? That's what you need to have this conversation about. What are you taking forward with you to the summer solstice, and what are you leaving behind? Come into this balance. The devil and the moon, right? The devil is just what we make it, so if you want to make it something that you're chained to, then you can. But at the same time, you can also, go to your intuition, be enlightened, see that it's there. Oh, hey, what's up? Okay. And then keep moving, right? On the moon card, it's always the domesticated and the wild together coming into this consciousness. The moon talks about our fears, right? What are your fears moving forward? What scares you the most? Sit with that. And how can you have a conversation with that moving forward, because these planets are in new positions, right? Especially that Chiron and Aries, Chiron, that wounded healer, right? Who we see as the great healer, bringing up things about us that now don't bother us that much anymore. We're just like, okay, yeah, I get it. I see it. I'm taking responsibility for it. Instead of just like having it, that bleeding heart, or just like, oh, so tender, or just, there's got to be a time in our lives where we just stop twisting the knife. You know what I mean? Like we've got to pick that path, right? To keep moving forward, to heal those wounds. And I always talk about us getting out of duality, especially ending Gemini season. Gemini, used to represent duality, and I don't see it as duality anymore. And I think it is with that idea moving forward of, looking across and seeing what is our opposite and how that helps us out. Cancer, Capricorn. How can we find that beautiful balance between those two in moving forward? Sun, moon, right? They're always working together. And I think before that, idea of balance and movement was kept out of the conversation on purpose, because we had to commit to one, right? And when we were committing to just one, they knew that would keep us out of balance. They knew there was no room for growth in that way, right? And then how do you keep people controlled? You keep them out of balance, right? And now we're coming into this time of stability, right? Because we get to choose what makes us feel stable. We get to choose what we get to focus our attention onto. We get to choose if we believe these things or not, right? Like having that due diligence, and making sure, like, I don't know if I believe all this. It's coming through social media, maybe take it with a grain of salt, especially moving forward, because again, keeping it simple. Capricorn does like to work. Capricorn likes to be getting things done. Capricorn likes to make a list, check things off the list. But how is that list helping us? How are we being creative in that list? How are we helping that list make our home stable, make ourselves stable? How is Cancer showing up, nourishing the earth with the water? How is it, you can't just run all day and not have a sip of water. Not in this heat anyway, but just in, general. So we've got to take those breaks, right? We've got to make sure we're getting enough liquid, enough oxygen, the soil is being tended to. There's enough nutrients in that soil. And, those days of just, putting your work down to the grind are not here anymore. It's not to say that we don't like to work. Like, I like to work. I like to have things to do. But it's getting out of that illusion that if I'm not working and I'm not being productive, then my life is being wasted, right? We're getting out of that big time. So with this solstice, especially coming out of this, I felt like there's a lot of tough energy with those squares to Neptune. See what's being shown to you. See what you do want to leave behind, and be okay with that. Accept the parts where maybe you kept something going, like you kept feeding into something, you kept the hope alive, and it's just like, it's not there. It's not there. We tried for many a year, and it's not changing. Okay, so you get to put that down, transmute it if you want, but now you get to focus and plant seeds somewhere else and move forward with that and work on something new, maybe something that you always wanted to do. So you get to put that first, and know, like, everyone's going to be okay. Everything keeps moving. Everything keeps changing, right? The world keeps growing at its own pace. And at this time, especially with full moons, when we are our most psychic, sit with the power, sit with the energy, take notes. My friend was texting me earlier about an asteroid that's, I don't know the name of it, but I'll put it in the notes. I'll find it and put it in the notes. That's really close with the moon. And she was saying, this asteroid is, we've got properties of this person who was a seer, right? And so he did all these, what do you call it? He made all these predictions, and a lot of them were very dark, And so I was saying, and so we were talking about that, but I was saying, the reality of it is we are moving back towards the galactic center. And as we move back to the galactic center, that is enlightenment. And so it's okay that, we take these things from the past and we say this is what they used to mean, but moving forward, we have to move forward, right? And the reality of it is we are moving forward to a more enlightened time. So it's important to start seeing things with more enlightenment. It is important to get out of this energy of all times, right? And work with the energy of the moon, right? Domesticated or wild, what does it call for in the time? Seeing things a little more cheerful is okay, despite what is being shown to us, right? That's the other part of Cancer. Cancer is emitting what we feel inside it's inside out, while Pisces a lot of times is outside in. And so Neptune and Saturn in there are really busting that up, that outside in, as finding our spirituality more inside out, right? Instead of outside in, working with this. And when the sun moves into Cancer, we'll have five planets in between two water signs. So we have Neptune and Pisces, Saturn and Pisces, and then we'll have the sun, Mercury, and Venus all in Cancer, right? And Venus is that divine feminine. She's in the sign of the divine feminine. So this is going to be a very creative time, and Mercury is going to help us figure this out, talk about it, different ways of communication, right? The sun's going to warm that up. So once we hit the solstice, the next 30 days, I really do feel like are going to be extremely creative. So just pay attention, you guys. Does it mean like all of a sudden you're going to just buy a bunch of paint and all that? I don't know, maybe. But also look for the nuances. See where you're thinking about things differently, right? Because Mercury is in Cancer. See where you want to change things around about how you work and how you can explain that better, because Venus is there and Venus rules the throat, right? Venus is how we value ourselves. How do you value your home moving forward, and how are you going to work on that, right? Is you're going to give yourself the space and time that you need to flow, get into flow and mold the clay, right? Enough water, we get clay. Too much water, we get mud, right? So find your pace I say the solstice, but the summer season, right? Move that energy with you going forward into the fall. Okay, you guys, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to be back in a couple days. We're going to be talking about this full moon in Cancer. Full moon in Capricorn. 1 degree of Cancer, 1 degree of Capricorn, right? So I'll see you then. Till then, have a beautiful solstice. Go and worship the light as much as you can, because we can. All right, till then.